One topic that seems to come up in Algebra 1 and Algebra 2 quite a bit is this idea of finding the domain. And so it'll help to know the definition of domain. The word domain in mathematics means the x values that a person could substitute into the problem for x and be able to calculate to get a y value over here. F of x is equivalent to y. So what are the x values that we could put in here and actually be able to calculate? You might think, well, I could just put anything in there. But that's not true, because when you're doing a problem like this, you're doing it in the real number system. In other words, you should be able to graph it on a coordinate plane like that. So notice if I were to put 0 in here, 0 minus 3 is negative 3, and in the real number system, you can't take the square root of a negative number. So 0 is not part of this domain because 0 is not a number that I'm allowed to use here. I wouldn't be able to calculate the square root of negative 3 in the real number system. You can't plot that over here. So notice 1. If I put 1 in here, 1 minus 3 is negative 2. Well, neither can you take the square root of negative 2. So that's not going to be part of the domain. So this is one way of thinking about the domain. So the domain is the set of x values that I could substitute in here for x and calculate with it. So that's one way of discovering kind of what the domain is here, is to think about that. What kinds of things substituted in there give me an answer that's greater than or equal to 0? In other words, I want what's under the radical here to either be 0, because I can do the square root of 0. The square root of 0 is 0. Or I could do anything bigger than 0. I just can't have it be less than. So this is really what I need to solve here. Now, if I do this, I'm going to add 3 to both sides. And so what I find out is that the x values have to be greater than or equal to 3. So as long as I put in 3 or 3.1, 3.2, anything bigger than 3 or equal to 3, that's going to work. So this is the domain of this problem. So this is one way of thinking about domain, just using straight algebra, straight arithmetic here. And so the domain is x values that are greater than or equal to 3. Those are the only numbers you could put in there and calculate with.